Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. Thank you for the organizer to inviting me here. I know it's one of the last talks today, and you are all looking for the cocktails outside, so I will go fast through the presentation. I guess all of you can agree with me that DeFi is still a very dangerous place to be in. We don't even have to look 1 year back when Terra Luna happened. After that, FTX. We had the Euler hack, the USDC DPEG, and just recently the Curve hack. Something's wrong with this space. I mean, DeFi had a promise that we will change the world, the new financial system, more transparent, and so on. But in the end, at the moment, we have actually, which is something more or less worse. This kind of stuff doesn't happen actually in the space every few months. We had one big crash, I don't know, 15 years ago, and maybe this repeats like every 10 to 15 years, but not like 10 of them in 1 year. And if DeFi wants to have mainstream adoption, we have to rethink how we think about risk and try to understand why do we have these kind of problems here in the space. Let me introduce myself. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Solidity Network. Spent most of my career in corporate development. I'm in crypto since 2016, working mostly on the DeFi side, and Solidity Network, the startup I co-founded, was launched last year. We closed our first financing round and are counting now more than 20 people. So, to understand actually why do we have those kind of events happening, I will just take a very simple example here. We have two lending protocols. I believe most of you are aware of Aave and Compound. And in the last bull run, there was this very popular strategy where you can do yield farming. You have an opportunity on Aave, you have an opportunity on Compound. And basically, what was the decision making in this case? How did most of the people allocate their capital? So basically, they checked, Aave gives me 7%, Compound gives me 9%. Okay, I will move all my funds to Compound. I hope you can agree with me, this is not really the smartest way to allocate your capital. A better way would be actually to take a risk-adjusted perspective, to take the risk in account, like something what in traditional finance usually is done. Check what is the opportunity, take these two both these metrics together, and then calculate the ratio, and then according to that, decide where to put your capital to work for you. Now the question is actually, what are the risks in this space? If we look at Aave, Aave is not like when you're putting your money, you're not only interacting with Aave, you're interacting also with Arbitrum, because Aave is now, because of scalability issues, sitting on Aave or some other L2 chain. On top of, below that, there is Ethereum for settlement of these transactions. For the proper working of Aave, we need oracles. And if we want to run some kind of cross-chain strategy, like we find some kind of opportunity on Avalanche, some kind of opportunity on Ethereum, we have to use bridges. And even if this is not enough, we have on top of Aave, on top of Compound, all these yield aggregators like Earn Finances, yield optimizers like Morphos, who are doing arbitraging opportunities, concentrating liquidity, and so on. So basically, one guy just wanted to interact with Aave, but actually he's dealing with all of these primitives here. And the reason for that is because DeFi is nothing else than a composability of various primitives. These primitives are lending protocols, DEXs, derivatives, chains, L2 solutions, aggregators, and so on. Now the thing is, like, if something's happening on Compound or Aave, or it doesn't matter, like Chainlink, like we will see immediate consequences on Aave. Like Aave will be affected. Or we just take account, let's say, your finance breaks, because of this so much liquidity concentration they have, you will have some kind of liquidation events on Aave. These liquidation events will lead to some kind of liquidation events on Compound, and so on. Actually, just a recent event with Curve Hack, what we had, it was a systematic failure, let's call it like this, with Viper smart contracts. But what happened? What was actually interesting side? So basically, security issue. The founder of Curve had all his tokens on Aave. So basically, the panic was not Curve is going to break. The question was, what's going to happen if this guy is liquidated on Aave? Then we have a huge ripple effect all over the space. And that's actually the reason why we are always ending up in some kind of systemic events. Like these ripple effects are moving around from the space, from left to the right, FTX, it doesn't matter. And the question is like, how to deal with that? DeFi is a 24/7 business, so basically we cannot really solve these problems with auditing companies, consultancy companies. We have to have a different approach on that side. And when we look at the space at the moment, how are they dealing with these risks? So basically there are some kind of risk ratings. They are telling you, look, here you have a 7 out of 10. Go here inside, some kind of fundamental score. But this score was done by some kind of team. So basically it's their personal opinion how they defined this score. This score was done maybe 1.5 years ago. So since then the contract changed. But not only the smart contract did change, like the environment did change around the smart contract. All this is not taken in account. And lastly, like they are extremely simple. So basically they are just taking in account this one protocol. They are not taking in account the dependency of Chainlink, the Yearn finances, the chains, and so on. And that's basically where we at Solidity Network come in. We identified this problem like somewhere like 2 years ago. Oh, you see my calendar, sorry. We identified this problem like somewhere like 2 years ago. And we realized the only way to solve this is actually to using big data approaches to quantify everything in the space, trying to reduce as much as possible the human factor into the space, and applying like real-time processing, machine learning, other algorithms to calculate these risks and update them like on every hour, every minute, every second, depending what the solution is. We are also aware like those kind of approaches, using big data approaches, getting the data processing, so on, is very, very convenient for the traditional finance space. But actually, those protocols should have also this opportunity. They should also be able to adjust their position, to adjust the way how they're working in accordance to the input information which is coming there. And they are not able to use like information from a company, like a centralized entity, because even if we try to help the project, in the end we are going to be the attack vector, because maybe at one point I'm just bored with my life, I want to exit, so I manipulate some kind of data feed I have inside, and this data feed is used by some kind of lending protocols. There is some kind of liquidation, I created a position somewhere else and I got rich fast, and this should not be the case. And the way to solve this problem and to deal with that is actually that we are also forced to decentralize the whole tech stack, so basically the middleware, to enable those projects to have a data-driven approach around risk. Of course, we at Solidity don't want to reinvent the wheel. We believe in this space there are really a lot of amazing projects who are doing very different things, and we want to focus only on one important topic, and this is like solving this risk problem in real time and working with the whole space who have at some specific area much more domain expertise or where the infrastructure is already built. And in this case, I just present you like the way how we now envision how this open infrastructure should work. So in the first part is basically the data what we have. This data has to be validated before it can be written into the storage solution. On the storage side, what we learned, like, okay, we were thinking very simple, okay, let's put this data on IPFS, everything solved. Then you realized, actually, it's not that simple. You have so many different problems with that, from latency, from cost, and so on, from decentralization. And then even more complicated everything got after we started to talk with potential customers who want to use this kind of products, like protocols, then we realized all of them have a different understanding what decentralization means. Some of them just thinking like oracles. We just need, you put it on Chainlink, we are fine. On the other side, some of them saying, hey, everything has to be decentralized. Every single piece of this flow has to be like, or tech stack has to be decentralized. And there are others ones who are more pragmatic on that side. They are saying, okay, from the computation network, we want to have decentralization. A centralized immutable database should be like enough for storing the data. The interesting part is actually, okay, you have the discussion with them, you're talking from the technical side, the trade-offs and so on, and then you're trying to explain to them, hey guys, but you know the price is not same. Like, this is not MongoDB, it's different, you have validators, there are costs and so on. Then their opinion immediately changed because they are also competing with gas costs, with everything and so on. And then basically how to deal with that, and we realized, okay, let's build some kind of routing mechanism. Let's enable these customers that they decide how much they're willing to pay. Let's create these routes. So for example, we can have a centralized database. We can have a centralized immutable database, decentralized database. It can be Airways, IPFS. You can choose whatever you want. Then you have a computation network. It can be some kind of normal off-chain computation, some kind of decentralized network from Genshins up to some kind of ZKML solutions if you want to enable privacy. Customers should decide if they are ready and willing to pay for that. And basically with more routes created, more share of costs come together, and as cheaper the route gets, as more protocol we jump on it. And on top, we want to enable our customers that they are able to solve this risk problem. I put here various models, and the reason for here is basically when we started like 2 years ago, we had this great vision, let's use AI, we will solve everything, AI will solve every single risk problem, and then you realize basically that's impossible. Risk is so complicated in the space, so multifaceted, and you have to have very different approaches, and especially if you want to have something meaningful out in the space, you have to deal with security in a different way than with liquidity, within socials, and so on. And it's not only that, like, we are going to enable our customers that they can build these risk frameworks, and it should be like open, and we are going to incentivize them in accordance with their domain expertise, because even whatever we build, we are ending up in a situation, these models actually are working in accordance to our domain expertise. So basically, that means I know every single way how to solve. I know everything about security, I know everything about liquidity, which is operation of a protocol, which is totally insane. And the approach will be like a very different one. We should have an option that everyone can create their models. It can be starting from micro models on a security level, on liquidity level, and we have actually in the space a lot of domain expertise, like these auditing companies. There are really, really smart people there, like liquidity companies from Block Analytica, Gauntlets, and so on. They can really do amazing stuff on that side, and we are going to incentivize them to build these kind of products. Of course, we are going to build also our models to start to enable as easy as possible to build these kind of models. And what is going to be the end product? I mean, this is like up to the customer. What we learn from the customers, like these risk scores working very well for rebalancing of portfolios, as a pre-trade solution, like real-time monitoring systems could be worked, some kind of advanced risk frameworks for insurance protocols, liquid staking, and so on. But the idea is actually to build something very unique, tailored to a use case, which we are not covering at the moment. And the whole output delivery, of course, should happen through usually per oracles, like Chainlink, Chronicle, Redstone, doesn't matter. And the consumption is, of course, then through the DeFi space from yield aggregators, exchanges, lending protocols, and so on. But the thing is like, okay, in theory, this sounds amazing, but how are you going to bring all these kind of third-party providers? Why should they come to your platform? Why should they build, and so on? And that's basically what we are aware of, and that's also what we learned from the space from the last, I'm actually in the space the last 7 years. basically, if you start from beginning with some kind of decentralization, there is no way you are going to succeed. It's very hard to build network effects. You have to do very, very unique, solve very big problem that you get this kind of effects, and then many projects try to do that and they failed. And we said, okay, let's change actually our approach. Let's build actually a solution which can be used immediately, and let's enable actually in the first step this risk solution, risk scores, risk frameworks to the space, and not only like going out and say like build something. Let's build by us these frameworks, and that's basically what we were doing for the last 9 months. So basically, you can see here, we created a solution where you, in a very simple, few steps way, can create an advanced risk framework. And the reason why is possible because we made it very simple. We built a lot of these models by ourselves, and they can choose that as a template and change in a first step in a simple way the weighting factors, changing the formulas, the equations, and so on. And then if they want to do some kind of retraining, some kind of advanced stuff, they can do and build some kind of more unique, tailored models to them. But they are not starting from zero. They have something which is working, and we are able to go out to the market and battle test these scores, everything out in the space. And once this goes, and once there is adoption, so basically someone sees these values as useful, and that's the whole idea. It has to be useful, and so far what we got from the feedback from our design partners, it works. Then it makes sense to go in a decentralization case. Then it makes sense to go in the direction of protocols, and so on. So just it's to look at the space. I mean, this whole risk area, there are like 1,000 companies, how to understand what's happening there. And that was actually the starting point from our side. You have on one side these security-related companies, like from auditing, like Certix, Spearbits, and so on. Then there are many of these security-related monitoring solutions from Cybers, Forta, and so on. Then on the liquidity side, there are companies who are doing these agent-based simulation models, assessing the liquidity from Block Analytica, Gauntlet, and so on. When we look at the market risk, the financial risk, there are usually teams who are coming from traditional finance space. They are then starting some kind of Web3 startups, like, for example, Haruko, and they are having this know-how. They know how to build this kind of stuff. But a holistic approach, how to deal with risk, this newly introduced category which is coming with DeFi, this technical risk, fundamental risk, which doesn't exist in the traditional finance space. We had in TradFi this counterparty risk. This got like, this was actually the innovation from DeFi. We don't have that anymore in crypto, but we have the technical fundamental side of risk, and that's basically where we at Solidity are dealing with. We try to identify who is actually dealing with these kind of problems. We saw exponential Fi goes in this direction, DeFi safety trying to do something with that, with their ratings, but actually no one is really touching on that advanced level as we are doing at the moment. Coming closely to end, so basically we start, our solution can be used in TradFi and DeFi space. We have now at the moment something like 40 design partners on TradFi and DeFi side. They are testing our solution, basically improving our risk scores as much as possible. And we are going to launch our solution as a product launch actually in 6 weeks at DevConnect in Istanbul, so feel free to join. We will organize an event there. And also additionally to that, we are looking for design partners. So everyone who wants to do anything with risk, just feel free to contact me and I will give you the access to our solution. And we are really looking for feedback on all sides, from security up to liquidity, to improve as much as possible our solution. And just to conclude, this tweet here was from Dan Moorhead. He tweeted after the Terra Luna crash. I still believe it's on time. So basically, when we look DeFi at the moment, how it works, it has to change. And risk management is going one of the major drivers of this change. And we believe that we at Solidity are going to contribute a lot in the future there. Thank you. Feel free to join our Telegram group, asking questions, or just using the email address. We are really open to get feedback. I know there are a lot of smart people here in this space, so just contact us and we will give you the access. Try out our solution. We have something like 30 protocols, mostly Ethereum. We are now onboarding Arbitrum, Optimism, zk Sync. And we are now going to scale up very fast the protocol level from our side. Thank you.